Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pestana. And we're here today with special guest, Corin Grillo, who's here to share with us her new book, Angel Wealth Magic: Simple Steps to Hire the Divine and Unlock Your Miraculous Financial Flow. Can the angels assist you in developing wealth? Well, that's a question we'll be posing today. Corin Grillo is a Chicana and Puerto Rican mother, a licensed psychotherapist, author, visionary leader, inspirational speaker, and the owner of Casa Condor Retreat Center at Mount Shasta, California. Corinne offers online trainings in authentic spiritual leadership, nature immersions, intuitive healing arts, and in-person trainings. She has dedicated her life to sharing the life-changing gifts she received while learning to work with the angels. So welcome to the show, Corinne.
It's such a pleasure to be here, Marianne. Thanks for having me.
Well, I've been looking forward to this interview for quite some time, and I saw your book and I was like, oh my gosh, we've got to talk. What inspired you to write this?
It was the angels that inspired me to write it. But there's a lot to this. This book in particular is something that I was in a way like a little hesitant to create because I was a little hesitant to share that I had a massive financial miracle because of the process that's in this book. And you know how in the spiritual community, like talking about money is a little, hush hush, or we don't, we're too spiritual for that. So I kind of had to go through my own process of really owning the fact that I had a huge financial miracle happen with this process that I laid out, and that at a time on the planet with where we are today, we need as many different ways to hack the financial system as possible, in particular, people who are heart-centered. So I was inspired. The angels encouraged me to share this process with other people. So what I did first was I created just kind of a class. And then the class had such amazing results that I was like, okay, we're making it a book. It's going international. So that really was the inspiration. I just find that right now, especially heart-centered people, we just can't be shy about the income. We have to really claim or at least commit or invite in our helpers and our team to come and help us expand our financial capacity so that we can invest in the things that really matter to us and matter to make the world a better place.
So I know in your book you talk about how the angels want to support and encourage us. So how do they go about doing that?
Well, the first things that start happening is they will inspire you. It comes through inspiration sometimes. So a lot of us believe that the dreams that we have are just our dreams. But what I've learned over the last many years, and to be honest, I've been working with angels for about 12 years at this stage. And the financial miracle started happening almost right away when I started saying yes to my dreams and yes to the inspiration. So I was and still am a psychotherapist. However, I started having interesting inspirations, as in, I think I want to talk about angels because I had a miracle happen back in the day, and I was not a religious person. And so it was through me listening to my inspiration that not only am I living a life that's beyond my wildest dreams, but also my financial portfolio is crazy compared to what I thought was possible at that time. And it started with listening to the inspiration and not believing that the dream is just my dream, but it could be spirit's dream or a creator's dream dreaming through us.
I love that. And you did touch on how people who are on the spiritual path have this notion that having finances or charging or any of that kind of stuff seems to be less spiritual. How do you address that with them?
Yeah, I've coached a lot of people through that particular threshold, and we all have to kind of realize that we're under I guess a little indoctrination when it comes to our belief systems around money as spiritual folk. Many of us are still following guidelines that were set for us, 2,000 years ago. And the reality is we live in a capitalistic system. We're just going to have to face that fact. And if we want to be able to do work that we love, and really not for us, but we want to serve others, that we're going to have to be funded in order to do that. So when it comes to spiritual work, I always say, yes, creators free, angels free, but my time, not so much.
Well, I think that's a very important piece because there's levels where people can come in at any point. They can work either with your book, they can do online workshops, they can watch videos, but really kind of leave that baggage at the door.
Yeah, it's so important. We have to leave it at the door because especially heart-centered people, we carry a lot of guilt. And we have to just really de-shame that game a little bit. And if we want the world to shift in the way that we want to see, we're going to not just need spiritual power, but also economic power in order to make those things happen. So I want to see more heart-centered, mission-oriented people be millionaires, billionaires, so we can start funding those causes that really, really matter to us, because heart-centered people are the ones that are more likely to share their wealth than the others. And I'm kind of speaking from a mother's perspective. It's we want to share, we want to help other people, and that's why I feel like we do need to, in a way, step it up a little bit and learn and open up our hearts and our minds and our dreams to the possibility of being and attracting more wealth in our lives.
So, what exactly is angel wealth magic, and where did that come from?
Well, angel wealth magic is actually an ancient practice, and some of the angels that I use in here were angels from many, many years ago, a couple of thousand years ago, found in some of the ancient texts and scripts. So ancient Western traditional magicians have used them. Rabbis have worked with these kinds of angels. And people have kind of known about some of these angels for a very long time. So what's fascinating is that magic is a tradition that had been used for thousands of years. Actually, all of our ancestors worked with some kind of magic or another. And it wasn't until really religious colonization that the church decided to just kind of say that these things were evil so that they can take control of other people's lands and make them submit, in their belief system submit. So again, magic is something that I just want to be clear is not a woo-woo practice. It's not, I wouldn't even consider it new age. It's really ancient art form and a science that when worked with focus and commitment can really cause amazing, beautiful things to happen with alliances with our spirit team.
So, what would be some of the first things we would do in order to start creating space for angel wealth magic?
Well, I believe that the first thing that you do if you're going to work with angels is say hello to them, acknowledge them, that they're actually there. And it's not required that we believe necessarily. I know I was a skeptic until I had a miracle happen. And then I was like, okay, I'm not a skeptic anymore. So I always try to invite people, even the skeptics, into the sphere and treat angel magic more like an experiment than a belief system. So it's like, try these steps and then you tell me what happens, kind of thing. So yeah, first to let them know that you're here, and also create an opening in your mind that you can attract beautiful resources to your life, to your world, in supremely miraculous and magical ways through the help of working with these incredible invisible forces that all nations and all cultures have acknowledged in different ways throughout the world since the beginning. since the beginning of time. There's even cave paintings of benevolent beings supporting humans, learning how to learning agriculture, learning all of these things. So our ancestors learned how to thrive through extraordinarily harsh conditions. Because of these basic things, like just acknowledging the world, that the world is alive and that there's invisible and benevolent beings there to help us.
Okay, so I'm probably going to ask you like the $1,000,000 question here and put you on the hot seat a little bit. So I know a lot of people, when they look at angels, they're like, okay, well, they're messengers for God, so they go back and forth and what have you. So why would they help me make money?
Okay. Well, I think the real question is, why wouldn't they? These beings are here. And as I said before, have been here since even before religion. And like I said, we can see that in the cave paintings, the gods, goddesses, all of that. So there are benevolent beings. So they help us because they always have, is the thing. And to them, even though the human makes a difference in our minds about what money is, oh, money's evil. Oh, it's greedy to want more money. Even though we make a difference in our mind, spirit has always helped us and supported us through with more peace in our hearts, with more resources. If you look at just even modern indigenous cultures, they work with spirit to find water, food, resources. They still do it. There's no difference. It's just money is our current currency. But the only folk that are making a difference between money and, let's say, love or peace is the human, not spirit.
Thank you. I know I put you on the hot seat with that one for a little bit.
Oh, I love that. I love a slightly caliente seat. Thank you very much.
So in your book, you talk about wealth rituals, and I was so impressed with that. So what are those?
So wealth rituals, I mean, that's kind of a broad topic, but in the book itself, I developed an 11-day ritual with specific angels to help you invoke their energy, their light, in a sense, their specialty, so that you could open up the mind, the heart, and the life more to a flow of financial freedom. So ritual is something that in a way is hardwired into the human, whether we like it or not. That's why we see cultures all over the world doing some kind of ritual, even cultures that have never met before. So there's something inside of all of us that actually loves ritual, loves to engage spirit in this way. And there's a lot of folk that don't want to do it necessarily religiously, but they still want to do some kind of practice. And it's fascinating because it seems they've done polls where more people believe in angels than they believe in religion itself. So it's pretty fascinating. So ritual is just a way to, in a way, to focus your mind, your energy, and to call in the divine to come to your aid with really whatever it is that you need. In my first book, The Angel Experiment, that one was more generalized. It was just about lightening your heart, lifting your heart, and really learning how to play with the angels in a powerful way. This book, Angel Wealth Magic, is really about narrowing down the field into cashola, cabbage, and attracting wealth. But the way that I like to work with wealth is always from the heart still, because even the income that I've kind of managed to expand with in my own life and that I help others kind of create comes from the heart. It's heart-centered work. It's beautiful work. It's service-oriented work. And I just, I feel like you can have both. And a lot of people don't know that.
Are there choices or things that have happened throughout our lifetime that block people from being able to get to that heart center?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us are kind of born with whatever our family believed, right? So whatever we heard growing up, whatever we saw on the news stream about who we are, based on our gender or our color. We're born with belief systems sometimes that are opposed to the heart stream, but the heart stream is there, whether or not we acknowledge it. This flow of abundance lives inside of us, whether or not we acknowledge it. And it took me decades to figure that out.
I think that's such an important piece to touch on, because I think a lot of times people don't realize the programming that we've had for our parents and their parents and so on that kind of keeps us stuck. I think a lot of people can remember their folks saying, well, money doesn't grow on trees, or,
Exactly.
those kind of things. So we're always being pre-programmed to have problems with money.
Exactly. My mom used to tell me in Spanish, I'm Latina, and she's a Chicana from Los Angeles. And she used to say, I used to ask for stuff, and she'd say, what am I cagando dinero? And, translated in a gentle way, is, pooping money. What do I poop money? And so, so yeah, that's kind of like the programming I grew up with, like money doesn't grow on trees, and, it's ridiculous to want more or ask for more. Which really, it wasn't until I had to make a decision. I made a decision in my 40s that I was capable of more. But before that, I really didn't. I never considered myself someone that would move my personal financial needle past a certain like average point. It's like, oh well, I'm a psychotherapist, and this is what psychotherapists make. And I just kind of stayed there. And I was already super impressed because I had already made, earned, both of my parents come from extreme poverty. So I had already kind of broken that mold. But I decided in my 40s that I wanted to be a little bit more of an inspiration for my children, who are both women, young women, to show that women are capable of you don't have to be stuck in bad relationships, or because my mother, she was in a relationship that disempowered her. She wasn't able to work her whole life, and my father's an amazing man, but he was recovering from 2 tours in Vietnam, so he was a little alcoholic and abusive. So she was very much trapped economically in this relationship that was toxic, not just to her but to her children. So at the age of 40, I decided that I wanted to raise the bar where I did not want to be beholden to anyone financially. And let's see if I can, with the support of angels, come up with creative ways to move from my heart, but also expand my vision of what's possible. Is it possible for me to serve more people and also work less, so that I could still pick up my children from school? And so those values were really important to me along the way as well.
So do you feel that people really have to kind of hone in that why? Like, why do they want to get X amount of money, because of a lifestyle they want to live?
Well, not everybody needs the why, but heart-centered people sometimes do. And so I talk a lot about that in the book itself, because I had to come up with a deeper why than just paying for my bills, because that wasn't compelling. I'm not general. I was not a money focused person for most of my life whatsoever. I mean, it is so ironic and hilarious that I wrote a book on on wealth, and how to attract wealth. I mean, talk about miracle, right? So, yes.
You have all these angels listed in your book. Is there one or two that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I who I love to talk about. I know this is not, you wouldn't think that this is necessarily connected to wealth, but Archangel Jophiel can help give us optimism. And I have found that, and some of my associates that are millionaires, billionaires, or people who are just doing really well, and have broken their own personal ceiling, doing beautiful work, was one of the things that they had in common was optimism. So I work with Archangel Jophiel in the book and help walk people through the steps of working with Jophiel to help open up their mind to more optimism as well. So you wouldn't think like, oh, optimism is attached to wealth. But if you talk to someone who's really wealthy and self-made, that's one thing that they all have in common.
Oh, yes. They've got that positive mindset.
Right?
It makes all the difference.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, yes, I know. Because when I started talking to a lot of people because we moved, I didn't never had access to people with a bunch of cash, right? This is kind of a new development in the last part of my life, but I would be like, "What's your secret, billionaire?" And it'd always be like things like that, and it's so frustrating. It's like I want a damn blueprint, um, but no. So yeah, some of the angels that I work with are literally designed to attract cash, but without the right mindset, you need the right kind of vessel in order for even more and more beautiful abundance to flow your way. And when I say abundance, again, I just want to say it's all levels of abundance. It's not just about cash. It's about opening up your heart to your own dreams and potential and living from a really sweet spot in your heart and almost like, whoa, and then cash too. Yes, cash too.
Bonus on top of that.
Right? It's like a little cherry on top. Yeah.
So in your book, you talk about how we build relationship with the angels through channel writing. So what is that and how does that work?
Yeah, well, channel writing, is definitely an old practice, and it's kind of like journaling, but with intention that you're connecting with another being or a higher being inside of you. So I like to think of angels, especially with this particular book, is really looking at them as if it's all within you. Like we house all the genius that we need inside of us, different aspects or different facets of creator, which to me is what angels are, different facets of our creators, however it is that you perceive the the architect or architects of it all. So it's like if you want to get to know these specific angels, I recommend a practice called channel writing, just for starters, just to kind of open up the pathways and the neural pathways and the energy of it. So you sit with a pen and paper and you do an invocation, you ask a specific question and you let it rip. You just let things flow from inside of you. Any words, feelings, thoughts that occur. And over time, with specific practice, it becomes pretty profound. As a matter of fact, I just ran into a channel writing that I did 11 years ago, Marianne, just like 3 days ago. Okay. And I ran into it. I haven't seen it since, is the thing. So I didn't even remember that I did this thing. And when I was reading it, I was gasping for air. I couldn't believe what was written, because this was soon after I witnessed a miracle, but before I was doing any kind of spiritual work. And what I wrote down was, when you write your books, don't worry, just call on us and we'll write them for you and through you. And when you write your spiritual books and your psychological books, and I was not doing any spiritual work is the thing, Marianne. And I read through the whole thing, and I'm telling you, about 40%, if I would have copied and pasted and put it in an email, it would have been exactly what I talk about literally today.
Don't you just love that? How spirit kind of brings everything full circle?
Yes, it's wild. So I'm just like, yes, on the channel writing, everyone. Just do it. Please do it. And then check back in a couple of years. Your mind will be blown. I mean, I do this work for a living, Marianne, but my mind was so blown. I was almost screaming. And my kids are coming, like everybody's like, what are you yelling about? I'm like, look at this. I just found this from 2011. So yeah, wild.
Well, that is so exciting to have those kind of confirmations, being able to write. And they say that when you write something down, there's a greater possibility of that taking place because you're putting that into action.
Oh, for sure. And then so when you do it within the channel writing, kind of like if you take it deeper, so it's beyond just writing it down, but you hone in on your divine source and you set the intention that it's coming from pure awesomeness, pure genius, pure spirit. It takes it all up a whole crazy wild notch.
One thing in your book you have that really surprised me is the discussion of shame. I had no idea that was one of the biggest things that block people from success.
Oh, interesting. Well, when you read through it, did you kind of get what I was saying when you read through it? But yeah, I mean, it's a real thing, and I think that's why people kind of shy away from demanding more per hour and things like that, or not wanting to be more visible. They think they they don't want to be visible, or they don't want to do videos, or they don't want to be interviewed because they're shy. But really, it's not shy; it's shame. A lot of it.
Mm-mm-mm. That is very interesting. And I was just so impressed because you talk about how that is a lot of the shame that manifests as is something that we experience as children. So here we're living that again, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. As a psychotherapist, wounding and early child wounding and trauma is really important. So I do weave that into the book as well. It's not just a ritual. It's also, I kind of bring all of the elements in there, the psychotherapeutic aspects of it, the unconscious mind, as well as how to hire powerfully the divine team to make miraculous things happen in your life. Yeah.
Yeah, I was, you've got this ritual that people can use to work on their shame. And I thought that that was very impactful.
Oh, thank you. Wow. That's so great to get that feedback from you. I appreciate it.
Well, I just really love this book. I was real, God, there's so much in here. When we look at money, I know we kind of touched on this earlier, is asking for money evil? And I know people kind of get stuck on that sometimes. They're like, well, the money's the root to all evil. You hear that all the time, you know? So,
Mhm.
what are your thoughts on that?
Well, um, yeah, some of these are just unconscious assumptions we make because we've heard it so much. And some of us carry this feeling in there, whether we acknowledge it or not. You might believe that you're cool with cash, but if your family held these beliefs, they can get transferred into us unconsciously. Um, so, yeah, the whole money is evil thing. It, Here is what spirit showed me is that what money kind of does sometimes is it's an amplifier. So if like, which is why I call in heart-centered people, why the angels called in heart-centered people to read this book, because money is an amplifier. So if you are a greedy, disgusting human, the money can help you with that. Okay. But if you are here to serve and show up in a big, beautiful way, bring more light, more laughter, more joy, more support into the world, money can help you with that. I go through a whole practice to help people correct some of these false notions of what money is, so that they can create a more healthy relationship, which for me has what used to be such a stressful topic, the cash thing, into something that I experience as a dear ally and a dear, almost like a lover, who supports my children and my family. And it's almost like the more income that comes in, to me, what that means and what makes me happy is that means that's the more people that I serve. So it's this really interesting shift that and healing that's happened through the angel work. So you can believe money is evil all you want, but it doesn't mean that it's true.
I just love your journey of how you've gone through just making that shift so that you get to this place of loving money and having this really co-creative experience with it.
Yeah, yes. I mean, money is, and like I said, I do a practice that will in the book that could really surprise the reader on what money really is for them. And I teach them how to create a healthy relationship with it before we even do the ritual itself. Because these are the steps that I've worked with people for years on doing, and these are some of the most fun and potent practices that I've done. Just even psychotherapeutically, to support people in shifting their beliefs and their mind around these things.
Do you find that once someone starts on this path, it's kind of like a lifelong journey because it's a new way of being?
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, I really encourage people to not think of it as, "Hey, I'm just going to read a book and do this ritual." I want people to commit to taking it all the way, and it is life changing when you don't just change your mind about it, but you begin embodying it through the action steps that you take, through the people that you learn from, through how you educate yourself, and so it goes beyond dream world into sacred action.
I love that. That sacred actions where all the magic happens.
Yes, I mean, right? I mean, you did this. You're doing this radio show. I mean, that's really big, right? For you to make that bid for power, and for you to say, "Hey, I'm going to go have a voice and create my own thing." I mean, it's a lot, right?
It's just like writing a book,
Yes, yes. It's not an easy task in the beginning, because it's like, well, this is a cool dream. Okay, enough with the dreams, people. Make it happen.
Well, and so for people who are stuck, and there's lots of ways that people get stuck. Why don't we address that first? How could they identify one way that's getting them stuck?
It's actually fairly easy. You can look at any project that you've started, and then okay, where did it drop off? And really reflect on where did that project end? A lot of people have great ideas and they push, and then it drops off. So what was the distraction away from that project? And I talk about some of the main distractions in the book that I've seen that stop people, but every person's unique. But I do walk people in the book through some of the ones that I've seen along the way that are kind of hiding in plain sight. And I call them the wealth demons. And so a lot of people, when they see that, oh, that's what that was. That's why that project didn't work out. Or, oh, it's not that my dream was a bad dream. It was this demon coming to play with me.
These different aspects that are kind of blocking us in many ways in that unconscious mind.
Yes. Yes. The unconscious mind has so much to do with it. Our conditioning has so much to do with it. Also, the people we surround ourselves with has a lot to do with it. The input in our mind on a daily basis has a lot to do with it. So there's so many elements, and I try and touch on many of them in the book as well. Yeah.
So when we talk about wealth, we're not just talking about money, right?
No. There's so many levels. And to be honest with you, I didn't write this in the book, but it was actually after the book was all done that Spirit kind of told me a little secret. And they said, we're going to call this book, this book is about money on the surface. But they said, what this book is really about is the wealth of spirit that comes to life within you. And so it's almost like they gave me a sense that they're, in a way, it's like tricking people. Okay, it's about money, but also it will help them open their heart to the abundance of love that's available to all of us, the abundance of possibilities, the abundance of joy, the abundance of opportunity to live differently, to be insulated and resilient through the power of spirit. And the strength that we receive through the power of spirit. And when I say spirit, I mean all the things, all the good things, like allies, our allies of the angels, the allies of ancestors, and ancestors are super important for me as well. I don't talk about them too much in this book. Maybe that's a next book, but yes, wealth is all the good things wrapped up in one and multiplied.
Yes, it could be health. It could be,
yes,
you receive something that has the equivalent of money.
Yeah, it's like love. Like you can't put a price tag on. Whoa, what just happened with my partner? Because I get people who have so many interesting things happen with any of these books that I write, or these programs that I do with angels, because okay, I have this goal, and they're doing their daily practice. They're entering into ceremony, creating their life as if they go into ritual every day and create this beautiful little simple practice that I do. But then they notice something. They notice maybe their kids accidentally become happier, or their relationship with their partner softens magically. And so, essentially, anytime you bring angels into your life or anything, it can have a radical effect in other areas of your life. And you weren't even planning on that.
And you've got all the well, not all, but you've got a lot of angels listed. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Was it really? I mean, did you do a lot of research on that? Because it's so complex there.
Yeah, I did actually. I did because some of these angels were ones that look, I created this book during lockdown when my kids were home and with this ritual. And I knew that I was going to have to take a hit financially because my kids were home on lockdown. And like so many people out there struggling, or so many other people with jobs and like big work. I mean, I was already working, having a couple kids at home with you is distracting. So I made a conscious choice to reduce my hours so that I could really be present for this experience that we were all going through, especially for my children. So, I decided that I wanted to do something. Okay, well, I remember telling my husband, okay, I'm going to reduce my hours. I'm going to officially making some less money, but instead I'm going to do magic. And he's like, okay, let's do that. So I did some research and found some of these older angels that were designed for specifically wealth attraction, and kind of layered in and channeled what I already know. So a lot of these angels are angels that I knew, and some of them are more traditional angels used in Western magic as well.
Did you have names show up? You're like, I don't know who this angel is, and then go look it up, and they're the perfect fit for your work.
Let's see. No, I did not do that reverse. Well, actually, I did. Some of the archangels that are in there, they came through, and then I had to do a little deeper research on, well, really, I would say, hey, well, okay, why? Tell me why. And then they would go, okay. And with each of these angels, I did connect with them. So even though I did the research, the best way to learn about angels, I feel, is developing your own personal relationship. So just because somebody else says something is true doesn't mean that I'm going to officially believe them. I mean, that's just how I am. I have to experience it for myself. So I did research, but also made a connection with these angels. And I show people how to do that actually in the book. And then I kind of checked in. Hey, is this the right day? How does this feel? So I worked both intuitively and also academically I used both sides of my brain to develop this process. And then when I shared it with other people, that's when really cool stuff also started happening for them too. So I was like, all right, let's lock it in and we'll put it in a book.
Now, when people start doing this practice, is this something that they can bring money into their life or wealth into their life immediately?
Yeah, it could work. Whatever it's here. It definitely is designed to attract fast cash if that's what you want. But I encourage readers to go beyond fast cash. Okay, yes, ask for fast cash. And also, what's your bigger goal? Okay. Because if you're asking for fast cash, it means you're in a state where you're kind of still grasping for dollars. So I want folks to really think about, to deepen in to why wealth, to dream bigger than just fast cash. But yes, for sure, people can. I gave this process to one of my family members before I even to one of my family members, and also to a friend of mine, before I even created a course around it. And I only gave it to two people other than me. And I share how much money I attracted. It's a ridiculous amount. I'm not going to even talk about it because it's embarrassing to say it out loud. I have to write about it. But it's a lot. Okay. I playfully say it's embarrassing, but I'll tell you their amounts. So their amount was she attracted within 2 weeks. It was $10,000. That was my friend. And then my family member, it was $25,000 within 2 weeks as well. So yes to the fast cash thing, but I want people to go deeper because I want the world to change in a beautiful way by heart-centered folks.
So heart center folks can use this practice in what way to change the world?
Oh, so they can fund causes that they believe in, or that they could create their own ways of being of service to the planet. It's like there's still children starving out in the world. This is ridiculous. We have the wealth to do and to solve all of the world's problems right now. Like, the amount of capital exists, but it's in the wrong hands. So I want heart-centered folks, those people who are mission-oriented, to really get serious about their income potential so they can fund the right causes, whatever it is that floats your boat. You want to save the polar bears? You're going to need capital for that. Unfortunately, we're in this capitalistic system, but so while we're here, we might as well make the most out of it.
Thank goodness for that, right?
Yeah,
you get to be creative and create all this.
You can. I'm not a huge fan of capitalism per se, but I'm just like, hey, while I'm here, I'm going to have to learn how to hack the system. And the angels supremely helped me with that.
You have so many practices within your book, and also you talk about quantum invocations. Why do you list those, and what are those?
Okay, so quantum invocations, it's just a really fast way to align with that specific energy. So let's say you're working with let's say that you know that you have really bad luck with money. And you know that, like, when you read through my long list of angels that I give, you know that, like, this one angel, like, stands out at you. It's like, the one who helps with money misfortune. Okay. And you want to get started right away. I give a quantum invocation that is really a quick way of inviting this potency that, again, I believe that angels, just as they are outside of us, they are also inside of us. And so I show you a really sweet process of calling in and helping that angel come to life inside of you, that part of your psyche come to life and open up.
That's so exciting to be able to do that practice, and you walk people through that in your book. I mean, there's so many.
I know there's a lot of practice. I had a hard time narrowing it down what I wanted to share. But the quantum invocation is something that I do when, just really sweet, simple, 3 minutes. If there's a specific angel that I really want to incorporate, that I'm really vibing with, like, ooh, I like your potential. I need more of this to balance me out. I will do quantum invocations, every morning for 7 days. So it's really flexible, but it really works, and you can really feel a shift of energy right after. Or I can, and I really encourage our readers not to just take it for my word. Like I said, this is an experiment, and so you just notice how you feel after you do a quantum invocation or do some of these daily rituals that I give, and this really specific 11-day ritual at the end of the book that can really help kick it into high gear.
Well, we love that for sure.
Right?
So for our listeners, I mean, I know we've covered so much.
Yeah.
For our listeners right now, what's one thing that they can do that would make a change and provide more wealth in their life?
I think the first thing, okay, so something that I want to say, I guess, to your audience is if you want wealth, surround yourself with it, not necessarily with objects, but really simple, wonderful things that you can do. Here's one little thing, besides, of course, getting the book, because I cover all the bases, or a lot of the bases in the book, but listen to wealth podcasts about wealth, or people who've become self-made. Start learning now, because it's not going to come naturally to some of us. I know it didn't come naturally to me. I had to make a decision that I'm going to learn about this, and I had to come up with some really compelling reasons why, because I had been mostly repulsed by the whole topic most of my life.
And a lot of that was due to how you were brought up.
Right? Yes, conditioning, and like I said, I came from poverty. Both of my parents came from poverty, so I had an assumption about my own capacity for wealth. So why even bother? Why even bother when you're a brown woman from the hood, which is what I am. So, yeah.
I think anyone in a poverty state can really understand that, regardless where they're at. In different parts of the country, we have people who are really suffering from lack of money and lack of resources. So being able to make shifts and changes, that's a huge thing.
Oh, for sure. I think, educating yourself in all the different ways, calling on the divine to come and help you, but you have to be willing to change something that you're doing. So a simple change is get educated in a really fun way. Like just podcast is so easy. It's not a 1 year course in economics or, a bachelor's degree in economics or business. It's podcasts, they're fun. You get to hear people's stories and you learn just from surrounding yourself, even if you don't know any people like I didn't know anybody, growing up that was wealthy. There's always other resources. There's other, these days, there's so much beautiful education out there that we can access at no cost.
Yeah, there's so many resources. In your book, you talk about chatting with the spirit of money. I'd love for you to expand on that.
Yeah. So, our culture, we in the West, we suffer from just believing that the world isn't alive, that the world is just, okay, I see a tree, it's just a tree. So we don't know that things are actually alive. There's a spirit attached to everything. There's energy attached to everything. We know this in physics. We can see it. We can see that there's like the material reality is the illusion, right? It's the exception. The rule is energy. Energy is what lies at everything. So if you understand that principle, then we can take it back to all of our indigenous roots. You may not identify as having indigenous roots, but I promise you, you do have indigenous roots all the way back wherever your people are from. They were indigenous to a land. They knew how to work with the land. They knew how to, and they knew that the world was alive. So with the same principle, we can look at money and cash as having its own spirit. And so I walk people through a process on how to talk to that spirit and see what it has to say.
That sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
See if our money spirit is wanting to have a conversation with us or,
Yeah.
or what.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people really in that process discover so many cool things about the spirit of money. And it's really beautiful. I remember the first time I did it, I was shocked personally. I was shocked. It was what the spirit of money and I wasn't necessarily channeling back then or anything. It's more like a Gestalt practice with it, Gestalt a psychotherapeutic practice. But I was shocked at what the response was from the spirit of money. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I got to rethink some things.
So, Corinne, where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about angel wealth magic?
Oh, yeah, they can check out my website, CorinneGrillo.com. I'm also pretty active on Facebook page, CorinneGrillo.com. And I put some stuff up on YouTube. I mean, you can find me. But the website, yeah, you can get the book there and look at all the offerings that I give. I do 6-month intuitive healing training that works with the angels. And I have a weekly audio transmission where I channel angels for the week. And it's really, I do it right the day before. So it's really on pulse with the energy of what's going on in the world and the planet. And so that's called the Inner Sanctum. So there's a variety of different ways. But yeah, head to my website, CorinneGrillo.com, and check it out. And if you want to buy the book, you can get that at a lot of the major bookstores, Amazon. And if you know some smaller bookstores that happen to have the books, definitely go there and support small businesses as well.
Yes, we're all about supporting our indie bookstores. Well,
Right?
Corinne, yeah, we got to
Yeah.
support them. So, Corinne, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you, Marianne. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Well, Corinne, it's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new book, Angel Wealth Magic: Simple Steps to Hire the Divine and Unlock Your Miraculous Financial Flow. Angel Wealth Magic is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie retailers. And if you don't see it on the shelf, ask for them to order it. And of course, support our indie bookstores. So make sure to visit the publisher's website, New World Library, at newworldlibrary.com. You can check out Corinne's book and order it there. And start your journey to unlock your miraculous financial flow. So, do you have a small business or book that you think should be on the radio, and the social media algorithms have changed so much that you just can't connect with your target market? Well, you're not alone. That's why so many people are choosing to advertise on radio. KMET is part of the 25th largest U.S. radio market in Southern California, serving around 3.5 million in the station's broadcast area. The Moments with Marianne radio show is also available everywhere online after it airs on KMET. With over 800 episodes that have been downloaded in over 78 countries, we're the #1 choice for advertising books and small businesses. So contact us today at mariannepestana.com. Submit your information for consideration, and we'll point you in the direction for what it takes to advertise on KMET, AM, and FM. Well, we're going to pause here for a quick moment. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne. We'll be right back after these messages. I'd like to thank Jason Eastwood at Guitarfulness for sharing his inspiring music and talent with us. His music is known worldwide for cultivating atmospheres of harmony, inner peace, and clarity. Visit Jason's website at guitarfulness.com. Join his newsletter, be part of his community, and download his music. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.